Wilfred Zaha sent off, which would mean suspension for the opening game.
And what was he thinking?
Welcome to Instant Replay for MLS Decision Day 2025. Yes, the regular season is over. Yes, I'm your host, Andrew Wiebe, and as always, we're taking a closer look at the most controversial refereeing decisions in Major League Soccer. We start with a pair of yellow cards that equals a red for Wilfred Zaha. That means Charlotte FC's star not only got sent off on decision day, he's out for their round one opening game against New York City in the MLS Cup playoffs. Oh no, let's dig deeper here. The first yellow, 31 minutes in. I completely get why Zaha is upset. It looks to me like the Union's Denley Jean-Jacques wins this ball, but yeah, Jean-Jacques is gonna get a piece of Zaha on the follow-through the back of the plant leg. It is an aggressive challenge, no doubt, intended to get a piece of Charlotte's star man. As Dean Smith said after, his guy has gotten rough treatment all year long, and, well, Zaha lost his temper on this one. The thing is, that's exactly what Denley and the Union wanted. They wanted to wind Zaha up. They wanted him to lose his composure, and he does. Once Zaha starts the confrontation and pushes and gets in the face of Denley Jean-Jacques, that yellow card is coming, for both, by the way, from Torrey Penso. And here is where Zaha and Charlotte pay dearly for that initial blood rush 90 minutes into the game. Jesus Bueno sees another opportunity to wind Zaha up, knocking his arm down after another physical confrontation, and, well, Zaha completely loses his composure. You can see here. He strikes through the back of Bueno's head with an open hand and gets a second yellow and subsequent red card. Now he's off. Now he's suspended for the playoffs. This is a disaster for Charlotte. And here's the thing. I actually think Zaha is lucky here. This could easily be called violent conduct and a straight red card, not a second yellow, no matter what you think about the wind-up job from Bueno and the Union, or the fact that Bueno makes an awful lot of what is not the most contact. But the most is not what the law says in regards to violent conduct. Here's the law. If you, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strike an opponent or another person on the head or face with the hand or arm, you are guilty of violent conduct unless that force used was negligible. So, to start, that is clearly an intentional strike to the head by Zaha. That's a clear check mark. So you gotta ask yourself this, does Zaha use more than negligible force? To me, given he extends the arm through the contact, I have a hard time saying it's negligible, even with the open hand. I know many would say that is harsh, but I would not have argued on the letter of the law if this was called a straight red, either on the field or via review. No matter what, the end result is the same for Zaha and Charlotte. He's got a red card on decision day, and he's gonna miss arguably the biggest match in club history. All right, I was in Vancouver for decision day, and I saw this play in person. 8th minute, it's going to be a DOGSO red-so. You know, denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity red card for those not initiated for Matías Laborda of the Whitecaps. Hey, very cool to start, by the way. Blake Price and Paul Dolan gave me a little shout-out right before the play.
We didn't get an Andrew Wiebe instant replay this week, but I think we know where he stands on that one.
Sarver cut down as he was about to break in.
Was that fate? I don't know. On the sideline, I didn't like this review and change to a red card for Laborda. It was originally called yellow. The foul was not in question, I just felt Sarver was too far from goal and his touch was taking him away from goal. Was it clearly and obviously DOGSO and a red card, as Alan Chapman decided after Edwin Jurasevich, the VAR, initiated the review? Well, I've had a chance to look at the play in detail now, and I see why the case made by the VAR was compelling enough to swap to red. If we go through our 4 considerations for DOGSO, Sarver is fouled just outside the 18-yard box, that's distance, check. And he's gonna have possession of the ball in the 18, that's possession, check. He may not be headed directly toward the center of goal, but Sarver is headed to a prime shooting angle on goal. That's the direction of the play, still toward goal in my opinion, check. Finally, there are no Whitecaps defenders that are gonna recover in time to defend this 1v1 situation with Yohei Takeoka. So that's lack of recovering defenders, also check. I know this one felt really harsh to Caps fans, and clearly I can see why given my initial judgment. But to me, after reviewing it, this meets the DOGSO criteria, and I understand why the red card was given. Okay, fine, say Caps fans. So why wasn't Lalas Abubakar sent off for DOGSO on this challenge? Well, recall, we examined such a play 3 weeks ago. That would be the Finn Sermon play against FC Dallas, if your memory is very, very good. As with that play, you gotta remember that per FIFA's guidance, DOGSO fouls in the penalty area no longer start with a red card as the baseline. They should start with a yellow card, and only in the case of truly cynical challenges will that punishment rise to red. And remember, this is a double jeopardy issue with penalty and a sending off. What did FIFA mean by cynical, you might ask? Well, essentially non-soccer actions. Like you grab somebody and pull them back, or you push somebody without trying to challenge for the ball at all, or you kick somebody's legs out from behind when the ball is nowhere close, that sort of thing. The threshold is intentionally very high. So Abubakar is clumsy in his challenge here, but he's not cynical in my opinion. He's attempting to make a play on the ball and defend the player just poorly. Therefore, penalty and yellow card is the correct call. There are correct calls and there are unlucky calls, and sometimes they are the same. Andy Nahar found that out against Miami. 62nd minute, here comes the ball, little deflection, arm is out, hits the arm. Well, the arm is outstretched, Andy. It's an unnatural position, and I know you didn't mean to do it, but in the end, that is still a handball. This is the correct call. It was a penalty, one that Lionel Messi finished for his first penalty goal of the year, by the way. How about a good VAR overturn in the New York City-Seattle game? 25 minutes in, Jordan Morris goes down under pressure from Thiago Martins, and Martins is saying off the jump, yo, I did not touch this dude. Chris Pinto, the referee, calls it, and Jeff Gamble, the VAR, takes a look at the replays and says, now hold on. There is clearly separation between Thiago Martins' foot and Jordan Morris's foot. Go take a look, Chris. Pinto does, reverses the call, and that is the correct decision for me. Let's circle back to violent conduct here in the St. Louis RSL game. 21 minutes in, Diego Luna is being pulled by Chris Durkin, and oh boy, do we have another case of violent conduct for that hands to the face, non-negligible issue. Well, here's the difference to me. Luna is not extending the arm through the contact in the opponent, and he's not striking in my opinion. He's being spun and he's putting his hand up to push Durkin away. Is there contact to the face? Yes, there is, but it is very, very little in my opinion and does not cross the threshold of negligible in my opinion. More glancing than anything else, therefore I'm completely fine with this just being a yellow card. Yes, the line is very, very thin and negligible is the key word here. You might have a different definition than I do. And we end with a classic instant replay play. That is one that has two issues in one. First of all, in the 38th minute, is this a penalty for handball on RSL? I'm not gonna lie, Devin Kerr says what I'm saying, which is I don't exactly have an angle that tells me clearly and obviously that it's not. So therefore, because the call was made on the field for penalty, I would not be able to call for a review if I was in that VAR booth. But it does look to me like the arm comes up, there's a chicken wing action as you're attempting to block a shot, and for me, that would be an unnatural position. So I'm okay with the penalty call. But here is an issue for Daniel Radford to correct on the penalty. Cabral, the goalkeeper for RSL, not just inches, he nearly feet off the goal line before the strike. That is gonna have to be retaken, and Radford spots it. Well done to him. And big thank you to everybody who sent us plays all year long. We'll see you in the playoffs. But for now, adios from the 2025 regular season. Big thanks to my producers, my editors, Phil Levanco, Aldo Medina, and Rich Hernandez. I'm Andrew Wiebe. We'll see you next time.